I was angry that my son traded his new bike for a box of old books, until I opened the books and found thousands of dollars, the price of the red racer. I measure my life in billable hours. As an HVAC technician in a town where the summers are brutal and the pay is average, I know exactly how much sweat goes into a dollar. So, when my son Leo turned 10, the Red Raptor mountain bike wasn't just a gift. It was a sacrifice. It was 6 months of skipped lunches, overtime shifts in sweltering attics, and fixing furnaces on Christmas Eve. I wanted Leo to have that bike because I wanted him to have the one thing I couldn't afford: freedom. I wanted him to fly down the suburban streets, wind in his hair, outrunning the worries that seemed to hang over our house like a fog. When I wheeled it into the living room on his birthday, the look of pure awe on his face, mouth open, eyes wide behind his glasses, healed every ache in my back. That was Saturday. On Tuesday afternoon, I was sitting on the porch nursing a lukewarm coffee, waiting to see that flash of red chrome zipping down the sidewalk. I wanted to ask him how fast he'd gone. Instead, I saw him walking. He was trudging up the driveway, dragging a rusted red wagon behind him. In the wagon sat a battered, taped-up cardboard box. "Leo," I stood up, panic instantly tightening my chest. "Where's the Raptor? Did you get a flat? Did someone steal it?" Leo stopped at the bottom of the steps. He didn't look upset, he looked peaceful. "No, Dad," he said, "I traded it." My coffee mug almost slipped from my hand. "You what?" "I traded it to Mr. Elias," he said, pointing to the box of garbage in the wagon. "For these." I looked at the box. It was filled with dusty, mildew-smelling books. My son had traded a $300 machine for a pile of paper. I felt a surge of rage so hot it made my vision blur. I had no idea that inside that cardboard box lay a secret that would challenge everything I knew about money, value, and the heart of my own son. The confession. "Get in the car," I said. My voice was dangerously quiet, the kind of quiet that precedes a storm. Leo blinked, his happy demeanor faltering for the first time. "But Dad, look at them. Mr. Elias said they are portals," he said. "I don't care what Mr. Elias said," I snapped, the volume rising as I marched down the steps. "That bike cost $300, Leo. Do you know how many hours I worked for that? You don't trade a brand new bike for trash." Leo recoiled as if I'd slapped him. He looked down at his worn-out sneakers. He looked lonely, Dad. He was sitting on his porch staring at the road. He told me his legs don't work good anymore and he misses the wind. He needed wheels. I have legs. I can walk. "So you gave him yours." I ran a hand over my face, feeling the grit of the day's work on my skin. "Leo, Mr. Elias is a hoarder. He lives in that falling-down house at the end of the cul-de-sac that Mom tells you to stay away from. He took advantage of you. He swindled a child." "He didn't swindle me," Leo whispered, clutching the strap of his backpack. "It was a fair trade. He loves the bike." "We are going over there," I declared, grabbing my keys from my pocket. "We are getting that bike back, and you are going to learn that you can't just throw away expensive things because you feel sorry for someone. Get in." The house at the end of the lane. We pulled up to Mr. Elias' house. It was a local legend for all the wrong reasons. The lawn was knee-high, the paint was peeling in long gray strips like dead skin, and the windows were obscured by decades of grime. It looked like a house that had given up. I stormed up the cracked walkway, stepping over weeds, Leo trailing behind me like a prisoner walking to the gallows. And there it was. The Red Raptor was leaning against the rotting porch railing. It shone like a diamond in a coal mine, totally out of place against the decay of the house. I pounded on the door. "Mr. Elias, open up." It took a long time. Finally, the door creaked open. Mr. Elias was older than I expected. He was skeletal, wearing a moth-eaten cardigan and slippers that were held together with silver duct tape. He leaned heavily on a wooden cane, but his eyes, bright blue and piercing, were sharp. "Mr. Elias," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. My son made a mistake. He's a child. He didn't understand the monetary value of the bike. We're here to trade back. Here are your books." I gestured to Leo, who was holding the box. Elias looked at me, then at Leo. He didn't smile. He didn't look intimidated. "A trade is a trade, Mr. Mark. The boy wanted the stories. I wanted the wheels. We shook hands. A gentleman's agreement." "He's 10, I argued, pointing a finger at his chest. "He can't enter into a contract. I'm taking the bike." Elias straightened up, surprisingly imposing for his frailty. "You can take the bike if you want to teach your son that his word means nothing, or you can let him live with his decision. But the trade stands." The heavy walk home. I stared at the old man. I wanted to push past him and grab the bike. It was right there. But something about his words, "Teach your son that his word means nothing," stuck a pin in my balloon of rage. If I took it by force, I was the villain. If I left it, I was the fool. "Fine," I spat, making a decision born of spite. "Keep it. But I hope you enjoy riding it to the mailbox, because that's about as far as you'll get." I turned to Leo, who was looking at me with wide, fearful eyes. "Grab the box, Leo. We're walking." "Walking?" Leo asked. "You traded your wheels," I said coldly. "So you walk, I'll drive behind you." I made him pull the wagon all the way home. I drove the car slowly alongside him, rolling at 3 miles per hour like a pace car for a funeral procession. It was petty. It was cruel. But I wanted him to feel the weight of his decision. I wanted him to sweat for that mistake. When we got home, I carried the box into the kitchen and dropped it on the table with a heavy thud. Dust motes danced in the light of the chandelier. "There," I said, pointing at the cardboard. "There's your $300 library. I hope they're good reading, Leo, because you're not getting another bike until you buy it yourself." Leo didn't argue. He just walked over and touched the spine of the top book tenderly. "They smell like history," he said softly. "They smell like mildew," I corrected. "Go wash your hands for dinner." The inspection. Later that night, after Leo had gone to bed, I couldn't sleep. The anger was still simmering in my gut. I sat at the kitchen table with a beer, staring at the box. It sat there mocking me, a pile of trash in exchange for my hard work. I decided to open it properly, mostly to fuel my own annoyance. I wanted to look up the books on eBay, find out they were worth 50 cents each, and have concrete proof to show Leo in the morning. "See, you made a bad deal." I pulled out the first book. It was a thick, leather-bound copy of The Count of Monte Cristo. The cover was faded, the corners bumped. I opened it roughly. The pages were yellow and brittle. As I fanned through the pages, something fluttered out. It wasn't a bookmark. It was a bill, a banknote. I picked it up. It wasn't a modern dollar. It was larger, the paper feeling more like fabric than wood pulp. It was a Series 1928 gold certificate, $50. I frowned, my brain struggling to process the image. I put the book down and picked up the next one, an old copy of Treasure Island. I shook it upside down. 2 more bills floated to the table like autumn leaves. A $100 bill from the 1950s and a savings bond that looked ancient. My heart started to hammer against my ribs. I reached for the box and dumped the whole thing out onto the table. The Count. I spent the next 2 hours going through every single page of every single book. There were 30 books in total. The kitchen was silent except for the sound of turning pages and my own ragged breathing. Moby Dick held $500 in silver certificates. Great Expectations was stuffed with Depression-era bonds tucked between the chapters. A battered copy of Alice in Wonderland had an envelope taped to the back cover containing 10 crisp $100 bills from 1980. I stacked the money, I counted it, then I recounted it. Total, $14,500 in face value. But given that many of these were collector's notes, gold certificates, silver certificates, red seal bills, the actual value was likely double or triple that. I sat back staring at the pile, This was life-changing money for us. This was a new roof. This was Leo's college fund started. This was the credit card debt wiped clean. This was freedom. For a moment, a dark thought crossed my mind. Elias is crazy. He doesn't know this is here. He traded the box. The box is ours. Possession is 9/10 of the law. He scammed my son, so karma is paying me back. I looked at the money, and then I looked at Leo's bike helmet, which he had left on the counter. The helmet he wouldn't need anymore. The guilt hit me harder than the greed. The morning after, I didn't sleep at all. At breakfast, Leo sat eating his cereal, reading The Count of Monte Cristo. He didn't know I had raided the books the night before. I had put the money in a Tupperware container and hidden it in the fridge behind the milk, the only place I could think of. "How's the book?" I asked, my voice cracking. "It's good," Leo said, milk dripping from his chin. "Edmond Dantes just escaped prison. He found a treasure map." "Leo," I said, rubbing my tired eyes, "we have to go back to Mr. Elias' house." Leo dropped his spoon. "Dad, please, he loves the bike. Don't make me take it back. I don't want the bike if it means being mean to him." "It's not about the bike," I said. I went to the fridge and pulled out the Tupperware container. I put it on the table. Leo looked at the stacks of cash through the translucent plastic. "What is that?" "That," I said, "was in the books." Leo's eyes went wide. "Is it real?" "It's very real, and it's not ours." Leo looked at the money, then at me. He didn't hesitate. He didn't ask if we could keep a little bit. "But we traded. He gave us the books." He didn't know, Leo. Nobody gives away a fortune by accident. He probably forgot. We have to take it back. Leo nodded slowly. "Okay, Dad, let's go." His immediate agreement shamed me. I had debated keeping it for hours. He decided to return it in seconds. The return. We walked back to the house at the end of the lane. I carried the Tupperware. Leo carried the empty box just in case. The walk felt different this time. I wasn't angry, I was terrified. The red raptor was gone from the porch. I knocked. Elias opened the door. He looked even more tired than the day before. He was wearing the same cardigan. "Mr. Elias," I said, "may we come in?" He eyed the Tupperware in my hand. A small, knowing smile played on his thin lips. "I see you've been reading." He stepped back and led us into the house. It was exactly as I imagined. Stacks of newspapers, dust, old furniture draped in sheets. But in the center of the living room, cleared of all debris, was the red raptor. It was sitting on a maintenance stand, and the chain was freshly oiled. A rag lay on the floor next to it. I put the money on the coffee table. "We found this, in the books. You must have forgotten it was there." Elias sat down in a velvet armchair that had seen better days. "I haven't forgotten a thing in 80 years, Mr. Mark." "Then why?" I asked. "This is thousands of dollars." 14,550, Elias recited, "plus the bonds." The explanation. "I don't have family," Elias said, his voice raspy. "My wife died 10 years ago. My son, well, he died in the war a long time ago. I have been sitting in this house waiting to die." He looked at Leo. "I watched you, boy, riding your bike past here. You always waved. Most kids throw rocks at the haunted house. You waved." Leo blushed. "You looked like you needed a wave." Elias chuckled, a dry, rattling sound. "Indeed. When you came to trade the bike, I saw a boy who valued stories over things. I have been looking for someone to leave my library to, but I couldn't just give it to anyone. I had to know they would open the books. I had to know they were honest." He pointed to the money. "If you were greedy, you would have kept the money and never returned. If you were lazy, you would have thrown the books away and never found the money. But you came back." "I can't take this," I said, shaking my head. "It's too much, it's not right." "It's not for you," Elias snapped, his eyes flashing with that sharp blue light. "It's for the boy, for his education. The books are his. The bookmarks are his." The compromise. I tried to refuse again, but Elias was stubborn. "If you don't take it, I'll burn it," he threatened. And looking at the set of his jaw, I believed him. "We will put it in a trust," I said finally. "For college. He doesn't touch it until he's 18. "Fine," Elias grunted. "Now about the bike." Leo looked at the red Raptor. "You can keep it, Mr. Elias. A trade is a trade. I have the books." Elias shook his head. "My legs are too old for 2 wheels. I tried to get on it last night and nearly broke a hip. I need 4 wheels." He pushed the bike toward Leo. "Take it. Consider it a fee for hauling away my heavy books. I just enjoyed fixing the chain. It was loose. I like fixing things." "But what about your wheels?" Leo asked. "You said you wanted to feel the wind." "I have enough money," Elias winked, tapping the side of his nose. "Maybe I'll buy a scooter, a red one. The legacy." We set up the college fund the next day. But the real change happened on our street. Leo started going over to Mr. Elias' house every Saturday, not to trade, but to read. He would sit on the porch and read Treasure Island out loud while Elias smoked a pipe and listened, his eyes closed, traveling to places his legs couldn't take him anymore. I started going over too. I fixed his porch railing. I unclogged his gutters. I fixed his AC unit for free. We didn't talk much, but we understood each other. Elias passed away 2 years later. He left the house to the state, but he left the contents of the library and the rest of his hidden savings to Leo. We found thousands more dollars tucked into encyclopedias and poetry collections. Leo never bought a new bike. He rode the red Raptor until the wheels fell off and the frame was too small for him. I look back at my anger that first day, my red-faced, vein-popping rage over a $300 bike, and I feel embarrassed. But I also feel grateful, because if I hadn't been angry, I wouldn't have opened the books. And if I hadn't opened the books, we would have missed the magic. Don't judge a book by its cover. I was angry that my son traded his new bike for a box of old books. It felt like a loss. It felt like a swindle. I measured the transaction in dollars and cents, failing to see the human equation beneath it. But life rarely balances its books in the way we expect. The ledger of kindness is complicated. Leo saw value where I saw waste. He saw a human being where I saw a nuisance. He approached the world with an open hand, while I approached it with a clenched fist. We still have the books. They sit on a special shelf in Leo's apartment now. He's an English teacher. He tells his students this story every year. The moral isn't that you should trade your valuables for mystery boxes in hopes of finding cash. That's gambling. The moral is that you should trust the heart of a child. When they give freely, without cynicism, they often open doors that we cynical adults nailed shut years ago. I wanted my son to be smart with his money. He turned out to be wise with his heart. And in the end, that was worth a lot more than $14,000.